Okay, I decided to make another video. So I've had this car now for 2 days, but I can't drive it because it got delivered right after the DMV closed. And so I don't have a license plate for it, and I don't want to take the risk. But I figured while I was in here, I'll do everything. So I did my carbon spoiler on the back and over here on the front. I made another video about this. I put this carbon lip spoil in the front, and I decided I already had in here some springs. So on the left you got the H&R spring, and on the right the stock spring. So I've actually already finished this side, and now I'm working on the other side. And this won't really be a how-to video, but I will show you just what's involved to get it done. Basically it's fairly simple. It's a bolt here, and 3 bolts up here. Those are really the only bolts you got to take off. Oh, I'm sorry, and this bolt too. So I undid the bolts, undo the lines. They just clip in here, brake lines and stuff. And the whole thing just pulls out, comes out as an assembly. Quite simply, I rented the tool from AutoZone. It's just a outside coil compressor. These things are pretty sketchy, but they do work well. I'm gonna say they're sketchy if you use them wrong. Make sure you're exactly 180 degrees apart, and you just need to find a place. There's little divots in here where there's flat spots and flat spots here to get it by. You kind of have to mess with it to get the right thing. Crank it down, and then the nut comes off on the top. So once you're confident that you've taken all the tension out of the springs, hit this nut with an impact. Nut comes out pretty easily, and then you can just simply remove this piece. Now I've lifted the spring off. It's still under an incredible amount of tension, so just keep these away from everything. And you're going to go and just gently back them back forth off. Then you got to transfer these to the H&R spring. So it may take you a few tries. I've found that this orientation with the nut on the flat part and this part touching that works out fine. One thing's very important: make sure your spring is lining up exactly at this stopping point. And when you put it on the top, this one doesn't matter too much, but I would make sure that the spring stops there too. And that'll give you more even height. Some people put on springs and they don't get as low of a drop, and they just had this turn back. And that's just something important to do. So now we're going to put the top back on and then slowly let out the tension. All right, now we got the finished product, so don't forget to put your cap back on the top. And then this piece, luckily it only goes one way, so you snap that in, and then it's ready to go back into the car. All right, so we've got it back in there, and just to finish up, I slid that up there and I finger tightened those bolts, and then I just swung this into here, threaded these 2 bolts, tightened them down, rerouted all of our lines back to where they were, made sure everything's plugged in, tightened this bolt up here, and torqued everything down. We're good to go. Now on the E63, you have to do one more thing, and that's adjust the lowering links. I already put one in on this side. The stock one looks like that. So the rears have airbags, so what you're going to need to do is pop that off. And these are kind of gentle. The arm right here is pretty fragile, and it's an expensive sensor. So instead of trying to pop it off there, take off the nut and remove it. Then put the new link on there and adjust it on this one, and it makes it a lot easier.